me see here. Good old technology. Oh, finally. All right. We are good, I think. All right.
Let me see here.
Cool.
Good old technology.
Give me 1 sec. So I guess I don't need a new link for you guys. I'm going to close this down here.
We are good, I think.
All right, cool. Awesome. I thought we were having some technical difficulties, but we are streaming. We are live. We don't even need a new link. So here we go. My name is Brendan Lowe. Thank you guys so much for being here. This is going to be part 2 of my 2025 planning session. I'm going to open the chat here real quick, get that going, and then we're going to dive right in. If you haven't done so, you want to go to the link that I've posted in the chat to get the 2025 guidebook, because that's exactly what I'm going to be covering in this session here. So you definitely want to do that. You want to go get the guidebook, and everything that I'm teaching you today will be coming from that. Now, if you don't see that I'll repost the link here. Well, actually, I don't have to. It's just at the very top. So you guys can all scroll to the top and get that. Hope you're all doing well. Hey, Alan, Mr. Mason Gray, Susanna, awesome. John. John's coming for some extra sessions from the mastermind. That's great, John. Perfect. This will be very, very helpful when you move on from ballads. So go get the guidebook. This is going to be really helpful for you all to focus on. If you haven't checked out the intro session, you're going to want to do that, because I explain how to use the guide, why it's so important. The number one issue really affecting students today is the lack of focus and direction in the tool sets that they're learning. So a lot of times, the internet these days, the amount of information that we get from membership websites, YouTube, it's really distracting. Not only is it distracting, but there's so much information as a student, we really do not know what to work on in the moment to get us to our goal, right? So what I mean by that is most of the time, you right now are probably working on 90% of things you do not need to practice. So essentially, you're wasting a lot of time practicing things that have no relation to the goal you're trying to achieve. And you can achieve your goals much faster by working on small bite-sized components in a simple way to really get to your goal much faster than you probably are doing. That's what this whole planning session is about, to give you the tools and walk you through that. So I'm going to be walking you through the guidebook. Today's going to be comping. Goal number 1, comping. Now, don't get that confused. Don't be like, oh, I don't want to learn comping. Comping is used in solo piano. When I play solo piano, the exact things I'm going to be teaching you today about comping, I use in solo piano. I'm going to give you some demonstrations on how to use that in your solo piano. But again, you definitely need all the comping skill sets I'm going to teach you. Okay? I'm going to pull up my guide here before I go to the piano. I filmed a lot of lesson videos today for people that know my live programs. So my voice is probably not at its peak. By the way, my New Year's sale is still going on. You can go to jazzpianoschool.com/holiday to upgrade your account if you're a monthly member to Lifetime Elite. If you want to join my mastermind, there's some spots open. If you want to pick up the Proficient Jazz Pianist, that's available now too. The new solo piano part 2 is going to be coming out very, very soon in the next month, and a lot going on, right? A lot of ways I can help you. If you're cool with the free content, that's good for me too. I just want to help as much as possible. So we're going to talk about voicings and comping today. I'm going to jump to the piano right now. And in your guidebook, I want you to pull up the planning page, which is page number 3, planning. Okay, because I'm going to be going over zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, zone 4. So let's talk about this, okay? Let's talk about voicings. So many of us go online to YouTube because we want to learn voicings like this. We want to learn voicings like this. Right? We want to learn voicings like this. Voicings like this. Sorry. stuff like this. Okay. A lot of voicings, a lot of things to learn. Am I right? You probably want all of it. Okay. I don't blame you. But we need to really look at our voicings. What voicings are serving our goal? What voicings are serving our goal? Because we could spend an eternity learning all of this, right? But I promise you, it's so much easier to move towards the goal with the correct tool or specific set of information you need to accomplish your goal. I'll say that one more time. You can make so much more progress. You can build so much more momentum, and you can have so much more fulfillment and happiness because you're achieving your goals more quickly in jazz piano, right? By learning small bite-sized tools that you need for that goal, rather than trying to just learn all the voicings or learn everything I just played, right? You definitely don't need everything I just played for lots and lots of goals. Okay, does that make sense? If you guys have questions, please put them in the chat as I'm teaching. I will get into the planning session first, but this definitely a little bit of an overview of what we need. So let's talk about the goal of comping in a specific type of way. So if I'm comping in a band with a bass player and drummer, okay, one of the easiest voicings to learn and use is our rootless voicings. Now, right off the bat, probably a lot of you know your rootless voicings very, very well, right? So if I wanted to comp through a tune, let's just say a 2-5-1 in the key of F, and all I want to do was comp, I can do that very easily in zone 1, which is going to be my right hand rootless voicings, left hand bass notes. Right? So here it is. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll put a 6 in there. Altered. 6, 2, 5, 1, 6, 2, 5, 1. Very easy. I mean, you could learn your rootless voicings and go play in a band today, just by using that methodology right now. I'm going to see if I can open my iReal Pro here. By the way, since I am at the piano, I realize that a lot of students on the YouTube video would cut to the piano. They don't see the whole intro video. But if you need the guidebook, go to https://jazzpianoschool.com. When I say jazzpianoschool.com, I was automatically assuming users would type that in. But you need to type in that beginning part, https, right? /jazzpianoschool.com/2025 guide to get the guidebook. Also go to jazzpianoschool.com/holiday for big discounts on any of my courses or live programs. Now, let's say I want to play Our Love Is Here to Stay. Okay, you guys still with me? I get a little nervous when no one's talking in the chat. But let's pull this up here. Where are we at right now? Okay, cool. I'm going to pull up iReal Pro. I'm going to put it here. And if you wanted to go play in a band today, I'm going to demonstrate the same thing I just did. Okay, with this tune, Our Love Is Here to Stay. Great tune, right? I'm going to be comping in zone number 1. So zone number 1 is what you see on the guidebook, right? It's what you're seeing on the guidebook. And essentially, it's right hand rootless voicings, left hand bass notes, okay? So I'm going to play iReal Pro in comp with this. So let's say you had an instrumentalist or vocalist. I know you're not all here for that. I know your passions and desires may not cover this. I will get to the other stuff real quick, but here we go. So here's Our Love Is Here to Stay with iReal Pro. So essentially, all I'm doing right now is comping with right hand rootless voicings and left hand bass notes. Okay? Now, if your goal was to go play in a band and wanted to play with other musicians and you just purely wanted to comp, you could accomplish this goal probably within 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And so many students spend so much time trying to learn so many different voicings, so many different approaches, two-hand voicings, drop twos. Like, you just don't need that. Just go step by step and learn what you need, right? So zone number 1 of my comping system essentially is just right-hand rootless voicings, left-hand bass notes. So if you have a goal of going to play with a band, that's all you need. That is all you need. I'll say it one more time. That's all you need. Any questions on that? If you have questions, put them in the chat. All right? If you understand what I'm saying, just write in cool. Yes, I get it. Right? I just like to see the chat from people, make sure you're all with me. It's hard when I'm not on Zoom. I can't see people, right? I just see a blank chat. So I really appreciate any chat going on. Say cool, yeah, sounds great, Brendan. Anything like that is good for me. So with that being said, let's say you're playing solo piano, right? Let's say you're playing a tune like Just Friends. Okay, I'll pull that up. Actually, we don't really need the chart for that because let's say you're playing solo piano. I'm going to close iRoll Pro. Thanks, Fred. I appreciate that. Got it. Fred said got it. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Sometimes I don't even know if my stream's working. I don't see people talking. All right. So if I go to play Just Friends, I need that same exact comping strategy that I just taught you in my solo piano performance, not for my ballads, but for my slow swing and my medium to fast. Now, on the guidebook, you'll see those styles. Style B is slow swing. Style C is medium and fast swing. So I need comping zone 1 and zone 2. I haven't gone over zone 2, but I need zone 1 to accomplish my solo piano slow swing and medium and fast swing tunes, style B and style C. I'm going to show you how this works. So in the tune Just Friends, it's the perfect example. Okay, there's a huge gap right after the melody. What I'm going to do is take my right hand and jump down and comp for myself. I'm no longer comping for an instrumentalist. I'm comping for myself. So when I comp now, using the comping from comping zone 1, it's for myself playing the melody. So it would sound like this. 1, 2, 3. Comp, comp. Comp, comp. Right? Same thing in Autumn Leaves. If I go to play Autumn Leaves. So what I'm doing here is I'm playing the melody and then jumping down to comp. So anyone who says, oh, I don't need the comping section, I just want to learn solo piano, you are not going about it the right way. And I've seen a lot of people who have gone through the proficient jazz pianist saying they see the first goal up there comping, they're like, oh, I don't need to learn how to comp. Well, yes, you do. If you do want to play the styles B and C in the solo piano guidebook, you need to learn how to comp for yourself using these zones because that's what's going to help you, okay? So is everyone clear on zone 1? It's very easy. Right-hand rootless voicings. It can be any voicing, right? So it really can be any voicing, but the rootless voicings are the best way to start there. If you do not know how to use your rootless voicings or you do not know your rootless voicings and you can't comp through a tune just using your rootless voicings and left-hand bass notes, that's exactly what you're going to write down in your guidebook under page 4. Execution. I will work on goal and step. So you're going to put goal number 1, comping, step number 1, or you can put zone number 1, right? So that means you have to practice your rootless voicings a lot and left-hand bass notes. Practice those in exercises, right? Go through your 2-5-1s, isolate each chord quality, like play all your minors, play in half steps, right? All the way up, play in whole steps. And then for your dominants, same thing. Majors. Right? You want to work on your rootless voicings because that's going to allow you to accomplish that goal. You don't need your upper structure triads over your shells, up here. That piece of education does not equate to you accomplishing your goal that you've put down. This is the biggest point of these goal planning sessions I want you to know. By learning my upper structure triads up here, right? Or learning drop twos, learning some sort of Barry Harris passing movements, that does not relate to your goal at all, right? Do you get what I'm saying? So yeah, those are fun, but they're not helping you make progress. And so much of what a student spends time doing is playing and practicing things that have no relation to their goal whatsoever, right? And this is why we really feel like we just gather materials over and over and over, and we can never actually play anything we want to, right? Nancy, I'll go over the drop twos in a second when we get to zone 3. Mr. Mason Gray, in zone 1, our left-hand bass note's always just the root. Bass note implies more than one note. Just the root. Yes, just the root, Mr. Mason Gray. If we're playing in a band, all we want to use is the root. It's completely okay to play the root. I recommend it for the bass with a bass player because they're going to be moving all about. If I were to walk bass with another bass player, that's going to be a big no-no. But when I'm comping in my bands and my trios and things like that, definitely in this lower area, I'm using this root because it's going to solidify my voicing. Let's say, for example, I just play this and the bass player plays an E flat. That's going to sound to the band like I'm playing an E flat major 7. And so if I play the C and he plays the E flat, we now have the sound of a C minor 7 chord. That's why it's really good for pianists to actually put the roots in there. Just don't walk bass on your left hand while the bass player is walking bass. That'll be very distracting. Okay? Cool. Got it. So we're doing well here. Yes, George says isolating rootless voicing is a real problem. You can do it in the 2-5-1. Yeah, just practice and reps, George. Just lots and lots of practice. So we now have established that for 2 goals, if you have a goal of playing solo piano, style B and style C. If your goal is style B and style C, then you're going to need comping zone 1. You're going to need that tool. Does that make sense? Right? I really want to get this clear. If your goal is solo piano ballad style A on page 3 of the guidebook, again, jazzpianoschool.com/2025 guide, https:// and then the link. Okay? If your goal is cocktail style solo piano ballads, you do not need zone 1. You do not need zone 1. What you will need is zone 2. Zone 2. Now, I know this doesn't say it here, but that's why I'm working through this. Okay? So this is going to really filter out and cipher a lot of wasted time focusing on elements in your jazz piano practice you do not need. Now, luckily, Jazz Piano School has all of the practice exercises and elements you could need to accomplish your goals. So if you need help working through all of them, that's what I'm here for, right? That's what my education's here for. So let's go on to zone 2. Zone 2 is going to be for comping, right? I use all the different zones in a lot of different ways. I use my zone 2 for ballads a lot, though. For ballads specifically, a lot. Now, I also use zone 2 for style B and C in solo piano, meaning for slow swing and medium fast. Okay, but let's just talk about the ballad, for example. Or let me talk about the voicing, for example, first. So what happens in zone 2 now? If I play zone 1, for example, I have my rootless voicing and a bass note, right? In zone 2, the only change that's happening is we're adding 1 note to our left hand. That's it. That's it. Now, there's a couple ways we can start to make this a little fancier. I'll talk about that in a second. But really, okay, zone 1 is going from a rootless voicing with a bass note to zone 2 We're moving up the piano a little bit more. We have a little bit more range here in the low to mid area of the piano, more around middle C, right? And we're adding one note, the 7 or the 10, right? Or the 3rd, you can call it. Not everyone can reach the 10th. That's okay. You can do this. Just jump. 1 and, right? So if I were to go through a 2-5-1, I might go 2. Here's my 7, rootless voicing. 5, you can also play 1 and 3. That's okay. You don't always need 1 and 10. And then 1 and 7, right? Okay, just like that. So we're creating two-handed voicings now in the mid to low area of the piano. Two-handed voicings. We still had two-handed voicings by definition before, but I don't really consider these two-handed voicings because you just have a bass note in your left hand. These are really true two-handed voicings because we have both hands working kind of together. We have 1 and 7 moving to 1 and 3, or 1 and 10 moving to 1 and 7, right? So that's what I'm going to use here for my ballads. For example, in the tune But Beautiful, right off the bat, I'm creating a two-handed voicing with my G major 7 in the melody. You'll notice I'm not just playing one bass note, I'm playing 1 and 7 here. I could do that, just play a bass note. But when the melody's up high like this, we really want to strive to create two-handed voicings to fill in the space of the piano. Right? Two-handed voicing. 1, 7, rootless voicing, right? You see that? So now, again, the main goal here isn't to teach you what to play on ballads. It's not really to teach you how to play your ballads. The main goal of the planning session right now is to teach you what tools you need to get you to your goal the fastest in 2025, right? You see that? So if your goal is cocktail style ballads, you don't need zone 1 comping. Do not spend time on your zone 1 comping, right? Now, I know you might have lots and lots of goals, for sure, totally. I get it. But this is about planning and utilization of your time. So what I want you guys to do now, because zone 3 and 4, you actually don't need for any of the goals. You really don't need zone 3 and zone 4 at all. So that's a great thing for everyone. So if you have a goal of comping, let's say in a band, you can learn zone 1 and zone 2, right? I would start with zone 1. So in the execution page 4, for everyone that has a goal of comping, go ahead and write down what comping zone, write down the goal and the step that you need to start to work on to accomplish that goal, right? So it could be zone 1, or it could be zone 1 and zone 2. So if your goal is to comp, like in a band or play with musicians, because again, these are the goals that people come to me with. These are the 3 most coveted goals by jazz piano students. That's why I have them broken down by these goals, right? 1, 2, goal 1 is comping. People, Brendan, I want to play in a band. Okay, great. Here's what you do. Brendan, I want to play solo piano. Great. Here's what you do. Brendan, I want to learn how to improvise. Great. Here's what you do, right? Everything else falls within those goals, okay? So if your goal is comping in a band, put down your goal and the step you want to work on for what quarter, right? For quarter 1. This is for quarter 1. We can always switch our goal at quarter 2, but I always recommend spending at least 3 months for that particular goal. Spend at least 3 months, okay? No more, no less. You can always reassess at the end of the quarter, all right? Now, if your goal is number 2, okay, solo piano. This is for solo piano. Now, here where we get into a little choose your own adventure. This is great. I love this. Anyone read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or did the choose your own adventure books where it's like skip to page 55 if you want to see Marty jump off the cliff and dive after it's like, okay, yeah, I want to learn about that. So this is the same thing here, right? If your goal is solo piano cocktail style ballads, okay, I'm just talking about comping today. I'm not talking about the steps under the solo piano, right? We'll get to those in the next session. But one of your goals should be to learn zone 2. Zone 2. Zone 2 is the only comping zone you need to play cocktail-style ballads, as I just demonstrated. These are two-hand comping voicings, just like the planning guide says. It says rootless voicings, right? Right hand rootless voicings, left hand 1 and 7, 1 and 3, or 1 and 10. That's exactly what I'm playing right now. I'm playing a rootless voicing with left hand 1 and 7. Here's another iteration. This is a rootless voicing, 1, 10, 7, doubling the third, and then the melody, right? Right hand rootless voicing, left hand 1 and 7. So that's the tool set, that's the skill set that you need to play cocktail style ballads. It's one of them, right? We got to work through the steps too. I'll show you how to do that. But that's one of the tool sets we need to know how to do. So your comping is drastically involved in your solo piano performance. Now, if you're more interested in style B, slow swing, or style C, medium and fast swing solo piano tunes, okay? You really don't need that much of zone 2. I'd recommend waiting on that. Do you need it? Yes. But zone 1 is much more important for slow swing and medium and fast swing. Why? It's because that's what we're using to fill in the gaps between the melody. Just friends. Comp. We're comping for ourselves in the gaps. And that's why we need zone 1 to jump our right hand down. Right? We're using zone 1 to comp for ourselves when playing slow swing and medium swing. So that's the tool set. That's the skill set you need if your goal is style B or C. Now here's the catch. Don't pick all of them, right? Don't try to do all of them for quarter 1. Pick one solo piano style and one comping that you need. So if you pick solo piano ballads, fantastic. Put down that you need zone 2 for your ballads. If you want to practice slow swing solo piano style, if that's your goal, solo piano slow swing, put down comping zone 1. Right? Does that make sense? So now what we're doing is we're narrowing down the skill set we need to very, very microscopic, meticulous tools that help us get 80% of the way to our goal very, very fast. Instead of going on YouTube and watching all these different videos on so much material that has no relation. It allows us to make no progress towards our actual goal of what we need, right? And I don't blame you. Students don't know what they need to get to their goal. So a lot of times we just go onto YouTube or the internet, or we join membership websites and we just browse all the videos. Oh, I think I want to learn this today. I think I want to learn that today. Ooh, it's Friday. I'm going to dive into some transcriptions today. That really, you never gain traction with that method. With that strategy, you really get nowhere because you're learning so many different things, okay? Is the last demo of Zone 2 the same as 5-note style voicings? Let's talk about voicings for a second based on what Susanna asked. Another really heavy misconception about voicings. So 5-note style voicings can be any 5 notes that have the 3rd and the 7th in them. So if students, like Susanna said, is this last demo of Zone 2 the same as a 5-note style voicing? So I would argue, Susanna, I don't know what a 5-note style voicing is. You know, I'm not sure if you mean a specific voicing when you say that. And I love teaching students about this stuff because I think it's super helpful to understand how harmony and theory works on the piano, especially with all of these notes in front of us, right? So any voicing I want to play as a solo pianist has to have really only 3 notes in it. That's it. The bass note and the 2 shells. So if I want to reflect the sound of an A minor 7, all I need is the bass note and the 2 shells, and I've got an A minor 7. I don't need the 5th. I don't need anything else, right? So any other notes I add to this are really just going to be additional notes, right? And that's the fun part. That's where we get into colors and extensions and things like that. But if I want to play 5 notes in my right hand, I certainly can now. At this point, I can add them on. Why would I do that? Well, if I want a thicker texture, right, I'll probably play 5 notes in my right hand. So let's add 1 note at a time. And I'm just talking about my right hand now. So this would be a 2-note voicing, technically, I think, if people want to call it that, in my right hand. It's not really a 2-note voicing. I'm playing a 4-note voicing here because I have 4 voices split between each hand. But let's just talk about my right hand. I have 3 notes here. I have 4 notes, and then I'm going to use my index finger my 4th finger to add a 5th note. Right? Got it. I see what you're saying. Your reference is super helpful. Yes, in the Bill Evans 4-note style, technically adding on, right, the 5th and then an extension, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's technically, yes, a 5-note voicing. So yes. So in the last demo of Zone 2, it's not the same as the 5-note style voicings. Zone 2, the way that I'm teaching Zone 2 is always rootless voicings in your right hand and a combination of 2 notes in your left hand. 1 and 7, 1 and 3. I can't do it in this case, but 1 and 3 here, or 1 and 10, or 1 and 3. Right, and then so that's always my Zone 2. That's a different example of the Bill Evans thing that Dr. Joe Gilman's teaching in that particular reference. Okay, so that's separate. That's a whole separate thing. That's what you're talking about there is what I'm going to get into in the solo piano planning session a little bit further. So I'll talk about that in the solo piano planning session. But if I do 5 notes here in my right hand, right? Let's say I do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I have 1 and 7. This is a great voicing. And then I can use my last finger here, my 4th finger. I actually have a 6-note voicing in my right hand and 1 and 7 here. And I can continue to fill this thing up, right? I can continue to use more notes in my left hand if I really want to, if I want a thicker texture. Right? So at this point, it's less about the voicing like mechanics or like theory. It's just like, do I want to add more notes to make this voicing thicker? Right? And so that's a very heavy misconception because people call they say, oh, 3-note voicings or 4-note voicings because you've gone on the internet and you've learned a type of 3-note voicings where a teacher will say, these are your 3-note voicings. Well, technically, there is no set combination of a 3-note voicing. Like a 3-note voicing could be this, or it could be this, or it could be this, or this, right? A 3-note voicing can be anything. As long as you have the shells in there with your voicing, really, all you need is those 2 shells, and then another note would make it a 3-note voicing. So if I'm playing an A minor 7 and I play the 2 shells, I can really add on any other note, and that will be a 3-note voicing. But again, the internet can be highly, highly confusing as a teacher. The teacher marks the voicing that they're teaching you as a 3-note voicing, and then you start to think, okay, these are 3-note voicings, where that's not technically true, right? Same with 4-note voicings, 5-note voicings. So I'm just trying to clarify a couple things here. Let's move on, though. So hopefully, if you've write down all this stuff, write down your goal and what you need for the different styles of your solo piano, okay? Now, let me talk about Zone 3. Okay, I'm going to move on to Zone 3, right? Let's talk about drop 2s for a second. Before I get into Zone 3, which is going to be in the upper side of the piano up here. This is a lot of what Wynton Kelly, Red Garland, Bill Evans are playing. Right, those are all drop 2s, okay? You hear that a lot from Bill. Hear that a lot from Wynton Kelly, Red Garland. Let's talk about the drop 2 in Zone 2 for a second, because I want to show you how easy this gets to create your drop 2s in a lot of different ways. So, from Zone 2, sorry, one sec. Okay. From Zone 2, I have 1, 7, 3, 5, 7, 9. I am doubling the 7th right now. See that? In both my hands. So I'm doubling the 7th. I don't need both the sevenths, right? I don't need both the sevenths. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove my third finger from the equation of my right hand. I'm going to remove or just lift up my third finger from my right hand. This note right here, right? So I'm going to remove that. I've just created a drop 2, okay, with a bass note. Drop 2s can take a lot of variations, right? So I've just created a drop 2 by removing my third finger. Now, the reason for that is because drop 2s by definition means you're taking the second voice, the second note from the top of your voicing. The top of your voicing is always the highest note that you're playing. So in this case, A is 1, F is 2, D is 3, B flat is 4, F is 5, G is 6. You count down, right? So what a drop 2 means is that you're taking the second voicing from the top and you're dropping it down an octave, okay? Now, I already have that note here in my left hand. I already have it there. So technically, all I need to do is not play this note, and that's giving us the sound and the appearance that I've dropped it down to my left hand, whereas I didn't even have to do anything because it was already there. Now, it was already there because of this setup I taught you in Zone 2. This is one of my reasons and philosophies for teaching Zone 2 like this, because you can easily create drop 2 voicings simply by removing a note. Okay, if I taught you Zone 2 like this without your left-hand thumb, then technically you'd have to remove your third finger and then play this note. That can be very confusing, right? This is why I really love my drop 2 system of learning your voicings and comping in these different zones. So here's your drop 2. Again, in this case, the thirds are doubled here and here. So all I'm going to do is remove my third finger again. I've created a drop 2 sound here. My seventh is doubled here, so I'm going to remove my third finger. So really all I have to do is keep my third finger up through the entire time, right? So then again, more in depth, it would sound like this. Those are all drop 2s, right? If I pull up iRoll Pro and I comp through Our Love Is Here to Stay again, using Zone 2, all drop 2s, this is what it's going to sound like if my iReal Pro ever comes up. Our Love Is Here to Stay is what I did, right? Yeah, that was the one I did last time. Okay. So what this is going to sound like with all drop 2s in Zone 2, it's going to be a really, really fun sound, right? Here we go. So on and so forth, okay? Nice, really golden jazz sound. There's a lot I'm leaving out, but essentially that's what that's going to sound like, okay? So Zone 2 can be worked in, I should say not worked, but leveled up. It can be leveled up into a drop 2 format, but don't start there, clearly, right? You want to start with your basics, okay? Now, what is going to happen when we move into Zone 3? For our comping, and again, by the way, Zone 2, guys, that's what I use for my ballads. Here's a nice, beautiful rendition of a drop 2 over But Beautiful. Right, here's a drop 2 setup for that very first chord of But Beautiful. I could do a drop 2 here. I could do another drop 2 here. I do like filling this note, though, just for a little bit of balance, actually. So drop 2s without roots is a bit more challenging to learn. Yes, Bruce, exactly. So let's get into that. Your drop 2s now. Excuse me, I shouldn't be clearing my throat right into the mic. I apologize about that. Let's talk about Zone 3 now. Your drop 2s for Zone 3. Here's what they are used for. Always ask yourself, when you go on the internet or even my website, hopefully I explain what the tools are used for. Just don't go in blindly learning stuff, right? There's so much information out there. Like, don't go in blindly learning some sort of gospel movement or a funk thing or an improv lick without knowing why you're learning it. What's the purpose of you using your hard-earned time that you're never, ever, ever going to get back in this lifetime, right? Time is the most valuable commodity that we have. Why are you learning what you're learning? Don't just go in blindly thinking that because a teacher's teaching you something, that's what you need to learn, right? You're going to be using up all this precious golden time of yours, right? So your drop twos, yes, they're super cool. They're super fun. Everyone wants to learn them. They're all around the internet, right? Every student from here to, wherever all around the world wants to learn their drop twos. For some reason, the internet has given a famous stigma to drop twos. I don't know why. Like, people think they're going to sound like Bill Evans for some reason, or if they learn their drop twos or something else. Here is the deal. Okay, I'm going to demystify this for you. I'm probably going to crush a lot of your hopes and dreams. The only reason that I need my drop twos up here in this upper format to play stuff like this is really, if I'm comping in a band. If I'm comping in a band, that's the majority of time that I'm going to play drop twos. So, sorry to say this, everyone, but if you're not comping in a band, this should be probably one of the last items on the totem pole for you to learn. Okay? Now, I'm not trying to strip the fun out of learning jazz piano, right? I always agree you should take breaks, go after like that shiny pearl that you want just because it's fun, but always come back. Like, come back to what you need, right? Not what you want, okay? We don't always get what we want, but we get what we need, right? Anyone know that song? So always come back to what you need, because it's what you need that's going to help you make progress the faster, and that's going to make you ultimately happy in the long run. The short-term fulfillment can come from kind of sidetracking and learning these drop twos, but again, the only reason I would use my drop twos up in this region here is for comping in a band or high-level solo piano fills. High-level advanced solo piano fills, right? If I go just friends, I might do a string of drop twos up here. So to fill that space. Sorry. So I'm jumping up to comp with that stuff. But again, so Bruce, I might send you back spiraling into starting to learn your drop twos by demonstrating that. But again, this little comping fill right here, it's like 1% of the equation. Like, if you can't just play through the tune, just like this. Play through the tune like that without fancy fills, and you really have no, I forget the word of the phrase. You have you don't need to learn those fancy drop two fills, and I barely use those. I mean, once in a while I might do some drop twos up there, but I don't use them in solo piano hardly ever. So in the grand scheme of things, if you're trying to learn solo piano for any style, like if you go to the guidebook right now, for all three styles, style A, style B, and style C, you just don't need zone 3. It's rare that I come across a student. There's one student in my mastermind where I'm like, okay, yes, you're ready for drop threes because that's where you're at now. But that's like 1 out of 1,000. It's very rare that I come across a student where I'm like, yes, this is the type of information you need to learn right now because this is going to help you. This is what you need in the moment. You've got everything else. 1 out of 1,000, right? So you just don't need that. So I would encourage you in 2025, just try not to spend time on stuff you just don't need. Sure, if you need a little break, Totally, I get it. Okay, we all need breaks. We all need to just go learn some fun stuff. But maybe take a week or just like dabble for a day or 15, 20 minutes, an hour maybe, and then come back to focusing, right? And you really can't scatter your focus. Like, don't try to do it every day. Maybe take one day out of the week and make that the fun day, fun Thursday or something like that. And the rest of the days, make it all based on your focus, okay? Zone number 4, same thing goes with this, okay? I don't need this a lot. Oops, sorry, I'm not on the piano. I just don't need that. Okay, that's all for band comping, right? It might sound cool. It's so funny because I had a student say like, hey, I want to learn how to play that high stuff. And I was like, well, are you playing in a band? They're like, no. I'm like, okay, well, that's the only time that you would ever need to really use that is if you're playing in a group or a trio with a bass player and a drummer. That's really it. If you're not playing in a group, that particular texture in jazz piano, you just don't need, right? But let's say you are. Okay, let's talk about this for a second. The things that are happening here is my left hand now has my rootless voicings, okay? So my left hand has my rootless voicings. I didn't really talk about zone 3, to be honest. Let me jump back to zone 3. So zone 3 is what we're doing here is we're taking zone 2 and we're taking the root away. So I'm taking zone 2, right? So let's say I take this voicing. Here's my zone 2, drop 2. And I'm putting it up an octave, first of all, and I'm getting rid of the root. So I have rootless drop 2s. These are drop 2s with the root. Here's a drop 2 without the root. So here's a G minor drop 2. Here's a C7 flat 9 drop 2. Here's an F major 7 drop 2. Here's a D7 altered drop 2. Oh, this note is sticking on me. D7 altered drop 2, right? G minor drop 2. C7 drop 2. Flat 13. Drop 2s. These are all rootless drop 2s. That's zone 3 right there, right? Now in zone 4, what's happening here, there's a really, really, really important thing about zone 4, which is my left hand now has rootless voicings, okay? So here's the catch. If one of your goals is improvisation, I know we're not on that session yet, but this step is going to be really important for all of you out there that have goals of learning improvisation this year, right? So if one of your goals is improvisation, this particular zone is very, very, very useful for the improvisation goal. Zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, not so much. I'd argue even at all. If your goal is improv, don't even touch those comping zones. Comping zone 4, if your goal is improv this year or for one of the quarters, absolutely. Work on zone 4. You know why? Because your left hand is playing all rootless voicings. You need your left hand for improvisation. Now, again, I need to specify what type of improvisation. I didn't do that. I apologize. So if you're playing in a band, right, this is the improv style or setup you need, where your left hand is playing rootless voicings. If you're improvising in a solo piano way, you're not doing that, right? You don't need zone 4 solo piano because your left hand has to do everything down low in the bottom of the piano. Left hand has to be super strong to improv. In a band, I'm not playing that way. My left hand is playing rootless voicings up here, while my right hand plays improv. Right? So my right hand's improvising, my left hand's playing rootless voicings. That's the trio. That's the band setup of improv. So when you go to learn improv, you have to say to yourself, what type of improv do I want to learn? Am I trying to have the goal of improvising in a band? A lot of my students do. They play in music studio groups, combos, teacher-led combos weekly. That's the style they have to work on with the left-hand rootless voicings and right-hand improv. Are you playing at home and improvising in a solo piano way? That the other way is the way you have to improv. Okay, so back to my point in general. Zone 4, octaves up here. This can be used for comping or improv. So zone 4 would be really used in both scenarios just for band style play. Band style play. So if you want to use that texture in a band style, or you're looking to improve your improvisation in a band style way, that's the goal you need. That's the zone you need. Okay? Woo! It's Friday, everyone. I'm feeling good. The weekend. My wife and I always go to the farmer's market. It's very peaceful Saturday morning. I love it. Work hard during the week. We pick out food to cook, get a cappuccino. So, hope you guys are enjoying this. Let me go through the zones again. So again, have the guide pulled up. I'm going to reiterate what you need for what goal, okay? And then I'm going to let you guys go. I'm probably going to head over to the Apple store. I have to upgrade my equipment. It's about that time. Zone number one, comping zone number 1. If your goal is solo piano, style B or C, if your goal is solo piano, style B or C, for any of the quarters, you're going to need zone 1. So I would add it to the list. Write it down in your execution portion of the plan, okay? No problem, Alan. If your goal is to play in a band as well, in some regards, right? If you just want to play in a band ever, or that's your goal this year, to get better at comping in a band, you need zone 1, okay? That's what zone 1 is for. So add that to your execution list, however it applies to your own goals this year. Zone number 2. If you're playing solo piano style ballads, if your goal this year is solo piano cocktail style ballads, add zone 2 to your execution list. All right? Also, if your goal is to just improve your comping, again, in a band setting, add zone 2 to your execution list. If you're playing and comping in a band regularly, add zone 2. Zone 3, comping, really should only be written down by the students watching this if you've really mastered zone 1 and zone 2, and you really want to up your playing to the next level for your comping, just comping in a band, put zone 3 down. If your goal is solo piano, I don't think anyone should write down zone 3. If you just have a goal of solo piano, it's not necessary. Unless you send me a solo piano video and I am floored and I'm like, oh, whew, the only thing you're missing right now is some drop 2 fills, then I will tell you to write down zone 3. But until that point, you don't need it for solo piano at all, okay? Finally, zone 4. If you're playing in a band, again, this is a great texture to learn on playing in a band in the ways that for the zones, actually, if you are playing in a band consistently and you want to improve your comping, I would learn zone 1, zone 2, zone 4, and then finally add zone 3 in. I'll say that one more time. If you're playing in a band regularly and I'm trying to improve your comping, I would learn zone 1, zone 2, zone 4, and then zone 3 last, okay? If your goal is improvisation, right, in a band setting, if your goal is improvisation in a band setting, zone 4 is going to be applicable to that goal. If your goal is solo piano, no relation there. You do not need zone 4 for any of the solo piano components, okay? And obviously, if you're playing in a band, zone 4, like I just said, 1, 2, 4, 3. And finally, just to leave you with one more thing that I just thought of while I was teaching you, all of the zones have levels to the voicing language that I'm using. So just because I'm telling you to use rootless voicings down here in zone 1 with bass notes doesn't mean I'm not at some level combining a lot of other elements, reharm elements, like flat 9s, sharp 11s, flat 13s, sus chords, tritones, movements, right? So I'm starting with simplicity here to teach you that you can just comp like this. But honestly, in zone 1, here is more of what it might sound like. That's all zone 1. So each zone can be taken to a super high threshold. After you've mastered the basics, you can start to layer in other more advanced things, reharms, combinations of different extensions, movements, passing movements, but it's all for zone 1, meaning I was mostly just playing all voicings in my right hand, bass notes here, and different types of voicings in my right hand. Sus, 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 resolution, tritone, 1. That's all zone 1 because, again, by definition, my definition of zone 1 is left hand bass notes, right hand voicings of any kind, coupled with reharms, movements, and all fancy stuff, right? Now, everyone, just so you know, these are this is the Jazz Piano School method of learning, right? You won't find this anywhere else. I've created these systems. I've created these philosophies. I've created these strategies, okay? They're all in my courses, especially my new course, The Proficient Jazz Pianist. All the comping information you see here that I'm talking about right now is available on sale. That can be purchased at https://jazzpianoschool.com/holiday. Click on the Proficient Jazz Pianist and you'll get access to the course literally on comping, working through all the zones with practice videos, exercises, teaching, all that good stuff, right? Solo piano is going to come out, and then my improvisation is going to come out for the Proficient Jazz Pianist. And then obviously you got a lot of other courses, but all my philosophies, all my teaching strategies are now available on sale actually for the New Year's sale. And I do have one more spot in my mastermind open. John, thanks so much. Alan, thanks so much. Glad you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys enjoy your Friday. This will be available for replay on the podcast and on the YouTube channel. Go to Jazz Piano School, youtube.com/Jazz Piano School to check out YouTube. George says, I noticed you are mainly using 3579 rootless voicings. Yeah, I mean, most voicings, George, will be based off of your rootless voicings, right? So, you know, I might play a voicing like, I don't know, this, into this, into this. But for different styles and things like that, I change it up, right? I'll change it up. So, like just for a bop style, your rootless voicings are really all you need, but it's the extension combinations. That's really all you need. You don't need thicker voicings. The thicker voicings with lots of notes are more for a modern style, different types of reharms. So just for the demonstrations, I think that I'm giving to y'all, George, and everyone here, the rootless voicings work fine. But you can change your voicings depending upon any type of sound that you want for each zone, you know, to fit that. So, all right, everyone, have a great time. Don't forget to go get the guide, jazzpianoschool.com /2025 guide. No problem. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Noel. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here. Internal methods. These are mainly shells on the bottom. I'm not saying it's bad, but drop voicings are taught differently. Oh, I missed that comment. I won't tackle that right now. All right, guys. So the next session is, actually, I don't know, to be honest with you, but I emailed it out. And so essentially, if you go to, or if you got the email from today, that will be on the schedule there. And so that's when the next session will be. It will be on solo piano, planning for your solo piano, and again, what you need and what you don't need. Thanks, John. And then the improvisation session will be last as well, on what you need for improvisation, what you don't need, and how to really go through the steps and work on tool sets. Again, super, super applicable to what you're trying to learn to reach your goal the fastest, right? Because there's so much information out there. It's about how to filter through the information, all of the information on the internet, and really get down to the tools and components that are going to help move the needle forward so that you can honestly accomplish your goal in much less time, very, very fast. Okay? Hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks, everyone.